She has been called a prostitute for 2,000 years. The church said it. History books repeated it. Movies portrayed it. Paintings depicted it. And if you grew up in any Christian tradition anywhere in the world, there is a good chance you absorbed this idea without ever questioning it, that Mary Magdalene was a sinful woman, a fallen woman, someone whose past was defined by moral failure before Jesus found her. There is one problem with all of that. The Bible never says it. Not once. Not in a single verse. Not in Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. The word prostitute does not appear next to her name anywhere in Scripture. So where did it come from? And why for 20 centuries has this lie about the woman who was arguably closer to Jesus than almost anyone else in his ministry persisted with such certainty? The answer begins in the year 591, when Pope Gregory I delivered a sermon in Rome and merged 3 separate women from the Gospels into one composite figure, Mary Magdalene, a sinful woman described in Luke chapter 7, who anoints Jesus's feet, and Mary of Bethany, the sister of Lazarus. He concluded without any textual basis that all 3 were the same person. And since the unnamed sinful woman in Luke was associated with sexual sin in his interpretation, the label attached itself to Mary Magdalene and stayed there for 1,400 years. The Catholic Church formally acknowledged this error in 1969, but the damage was already permanent in the popular imagination. So who was Mary Magdalene actually? The first thing the Bible tells us about her appears in Luke chapter 8. She is named among a group of women who traveled with Jesus and his disciples throughout Galilee, women who provided for the group out of their own resources. The text identifies her as Mary called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had been cast out. That is the entirety of her backstory in the New Testament. 7 demons, delivered by Jesus, now traveling with him as a devoted follower and financial supporter of the ministry. The name Magdalene comes from Magdala, a prosperous fishing town on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. This was not a name given to a poor woman of the streets. Historical and archaeological evidence suggests Magdala was a place of significant commerce and trade. Mary likely had financial resources, which explains why she was one of the women who financially supported Jesus and the 12 disciples. She was not a charity case who attached herself to Jesus out of desperation. She was a woman of means who gave those means to the mission. What we know about her from the Gospels is built not from what she said, but from where she was. She was there when most people had already left. At the crucifixion, when the Roman soldiers had driven the nails and lifted the cross, and the crowd had begun to thin, the Gospel of Matthew records that many women were watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Mark's account adds that these women had followed Jesus from Galilee and had been caring for his needs throughout his ministry. The disciples, the 12 men chosen personally by Jesus, had scattered into hiding. Peter had denied him 3 times, but Mary Magdalene was still there, standing at a distance from the most violent and humiliating execution possible, watching the man she had followed across Galilee die on a Roman cross. That kind of loyalty does not come from proximity to power. It comes from something that goes much deeper. After the crucifixion, Joseph of Arimathea took the body and placed it in a new tomb. The Gospel of Matthew tells us that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting opposite the tomb, watching where the body was laid. They did not leave. They watched until the stone was rolled into place. They knew where he was, and they intended to come back. The Sabbath passed in silence, and very early on the first day of the week, Sunday morning, before sunrise, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb. What she found when she arrived is the moment that changed everything. The stone was rolled away. The tomb was empty. She ran and found Peter and the disciple Jesus loved. Most scholars believe this was John, and told them what she had seen. They ran back with her to the tomb, looked inside, saw the burial cloths lying there, and according to John chapter 20, they went back to their homes. They saw the evidence and left. Mary Magdalene stayed. She stood outside the tomb weeping. And when she bent down to look inside, she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying. They asked her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said, "They have taken my Lord away, and I do not know where they have put him." She turned around, and there was Jesus standing there, but she did not recognize him. She thought he was the gardener and asked him if he had moved the body and where he had taken it so she could go and get it. Notice what she was saying. She was going to go and get the body. Alone. She was going to carry the body of Jesus somewhere. She was not thinking about what was possible or impossible. She was thinking about where he was and how to get to him. Jesus said one word to her, "Mary." She turned and said, "Rabboni," teacher. In the most intimate single-word exchange in all of Scripture, the risen Jesus Christ revealed himself first not to Peter, not to John, not to the 11 remaining disciples, not to his mother, but to Mary Magdalene. The woman the church would call a prostitute for 20 centuries was the first human being to hear the voice of the risen Christ and recognize it. The first witness of the resurrection. The first person sent by Jesus to carry the news. Jesus said to her, "Go to my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news. Some of the early church fathers called her Apostola Apostolorum, the apostle to the apostles, the one sent to the ones who were sent. For 2,000 years she was remembered as a prostitute. Her actual story is this. She was a woman delivered from darkness who devoted everything she had, her resources, her presence, her loyalty to the man who set her free. She stood at the cross when the disciples ran. She sat by the tomb when everyone else went home. She came back before sunrise because she could not stay away. And when the risen Jesus needed someone to carry the most important message in human history, he chose her. Not because she was famous, not because she was powerful, because she stayed. There is something in that worth thinking about long after this video ends. Because the question the resurrection story is ultimately asking is not theological. It is personal. When everything looks like it is over, when the stone is rolled into place and everyone else has gone home, who are you going to be? Mary Magdalene was the one who stayed. That is her story. That is her title. And it is the only one that matters.